Hi everyone and welcome along to Sonic Academy with me, Chris Nelly, and sat beside me on the other mic is Phil Johnson.
How's it going?
Today we're going to take a look at Kick, our brand new plugin, and you've probably already seen the news from the countdown. The plugin has been developed with none other than Nicky Romero. We've had this plugin development for a good few months now, Phil, yeah?
Yeah, it's been quite a while. There was a few early alpha builds floating about on YouTube that got people pretty excited, so we're really pleased to be able to
finally present it
to the
world.
full version.
It's taken on a few different iterations, and we've added some new features. So we're going to quickly, within this video, show you the sort of main points of Kick. I think the thing is, the big takeaway from Kick is it's so simple, so easy to get really good, solid kicks. So there's not going to be that much to show. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, when you're designing plugins, you kind of never really know how well they're going to turn out in the end. You know what I mean? And this has just turned out brilliant. Like, I
think, we've known for a long while that this is a game changer.
Yeah.
Just
from purely from the perspective, I use it in everything now. Don't ever use samples. Just don't need to. I can, whereas before I used to spend so much time trawling through Kick, so that, you get halfway through it, it doesn't really fit with the bass, and, you're having to go through, load up another sample bank, go through a bunch more kicks, where Kick has, you can get the click. You'll know from the start whether that's going to work with your bass, and then if your tune changes, you don't have to reload a whole load of samples. You can
go through a folder of 250 kicks to find.
You can keep your sub the same, and then just, adapt a click or change a click. The other big thing was, for me, if you hear a kick in a track, and you're like, I really love that kick in my tune, a lot of times it's really hard to find a clean sample. There's either always a hi-hat or a bass note or a bit of reverb or something. Where with Kick, now you can go in, just steal the first bit, which is normally clean because it's at the start of a bar normally. Steal a click, fire it in, and just
and then tune your sub.
Tune your sub, yep. So
and I think the other thing is you've so much control and so quick. I think like when we're designing presets, it was real. Yeah, that sounds great, and then 2 minutes later you change a few things. That sounds great.
Yeah,
everything you do, you can't get too lost in Kick either. You just tweak away and get really great results very quickly. Yeah,
I think that's it. You start off with great results and then get better results.
Yeah. So let's have a quick look at the interface. You can show us the interface and just quickly run around the sections, and then we'll go through in sort of greater detail.
Okay, well, to start off, we've got our presets. We've got a category, same as Anna. So we've got a bunch of different categories. Analog, bass, drum and bass, house, live, percussion. We've got Nicky Romero's signature plugins, Techno, Trance, Trap, and user kicks. So you can save presets in any of these folders, but there's a user clicks folder if you want, and you can go into your file structure and make new categories if you want as well.
We'll go through that in a bit. So categories. You want a trance kick, you go through to trance, and then you have a bunch of beautifully designed trance kicks. Who would have done that?
I think maybe you did. Maybe. And it's very basic. You got your presets there, so you can just either flick through with the arrows or use a drop down.
Then there's the save and save as.
Save as. That's all pretty standard. If you've manipulated your sound, hit save to just save it straight away, or if you want to save it as a different name, hit save as.
If you say trap one, if you just trap one, you really like it. If you hit save, will that overwrite?
It will overwrite it, so be careful about that. Yeah. It's probably always best to use save as and save a couple of versions.
Okay.
And then we have our little limiter LED.
So there's a built-in limiter.
Yeah.
So you can work away, you can really drive the kicks and not have to worry about your channel.
Yeah, let me pick just a house. So you can see that the limiter's on. The limiter's like a soft limiter, so it's adding a bit of sort of aggression to the kick as well. Okay. So you can either go into it or not, depending on what sort of style of kick. If you want something really smooth, you can dial back the sub, dial back the volume, and you'll get something a bit sweeter in the low end. If you want a bit more aggression, you can just push everything into it. You can even add your drive.
And that's the limiter on.
And the limiter will just, again, protect your speakers. It'll just make sure you're not going over. And again, you can sort of push into it and get that nice bit of drive.
Yeah. So that's your limiter LTD. Then we go down to click.
So the click section, kick's basically divided into two areas. You've got your clicks and your subs. So the click section is just that initial click transient of a
hat or a
and there's tons to choose from. You know, I think we've hundreds. All different
and there's
types.
also Nicky Romero designed.
Yeah,
clicks.
we've got 30 odd of Nicky's clicks that he's used from his own kick collection.
So these are straight off his productions and remixes.
Yep. And then they've got harder ones if you're wanting to make, super hard kicks. And some effects. Again, you can, don't necessarily have to limit yourself to just clicks. You could put claps, snares, you can do whatever you want really, and if you wanted to be more creative.
There's a sort of reverby thing.
Yeah.
So
just
you get a warehouse. This is the interesting bit for me, is you get these preloaded clicks, but there's a load button there.
You can also load your own clicks in. So again, you don't have to load a click in. You can load an entire kick. So I'll load a click in there. And again, this is sort of just an example of, you can go in and sample an entire kick, and then, just use the click of it. So we've loaded that click in there. All your user clicks will be saved in the user clicks folder, which is on your desktop. And if you save a preset with a custom click in it, it'll save it within the preset.
Yeah.
And it'll also copy it to your user clicks directory. So you can share that preset with another kick user, and the click will be embedded in the preset, but it'll also be saved to your user clicks if you wanted to use it in another kick. So
every time you load a click, it is written to your click directory.
Yep.
In the Sonic Academy folder.
Yep.
And then if you save that preset, the click is embedded within the preset, and if you mail that preset to somebody, which is a dot preset, everything's there for you.
Everything's there, yeah. So so we've got a click, which is effectively an entire kick.
But we want the sort of click portion.
You just go in and just take whatever you need. And then you've got volume, obviously. And then you've got pitch. So octave up, octave down. And pitch can be really handy for sort of matching up the phase of the sub and the click. Sometimes they'll be slightly different, so you can sort of just manipulate that.
And then you have a solo and mute button, so you can quickly hear your sub and tune it, or solo the click and pitch it.
Yep. So just really quick, really handy to get things going.
So you can load your own. There's 100 or so presets. And you work away and load interesting things as well, reverb kicks or effects or claps or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, again, kick's not just limited to kicks. We've got basses, stuff. You can get real subby basses. And
that's key. We'll come to that in a minute. That's key tracking.
Yeah.
So next section down, we've got EQ.
Yep, so we'll load just a bass. Yeah, so we've got EQ, just a frequency sweep from about 40 hertz, 30 hertz up to about 1K. I think it's something like that. And then we've got
Boost
plus or minus. I think.
So 12 o'clock is zero gain.
Yeah.
And 5 o'clock is plus and minus. And is that going to the sub and the click?
That is just going to the sub, I believe. Or no, maybe it's going to both. Yeah, it's going to both, yeah.
So that's a basic EQ to really boost things or cut if there's a annoying frequency.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time it can be handy just, you bring it to that sort of 500 hertz, 300 hertz sort of area to
do a little cut.
You can sort of soften your kicks up if you need to.
Yeah. Then we have the sub.
Yep, so we've got sub volume. So your sub volume goes into your drive and your drive goes into your limiter. So you have a couple of stages there of being able to push things. So sub volume, then you can drive it.
And you can see the limiter light now coming on.
Yeah, so again, it's just about adding more sort of tonal harmonic
like content.
distortion and just sort of beefing stuff up.
So the next time we'll go over to our envelope page.
Okay, so
3 buttons here.
yeah, we've got pitch, amp, click, and reset. So pitch controls the pitch envelope of the sine.
So if you want to hit reset, and we'll take the guys through. Yep, there you go.
So there's a basic.
So this is a sine wave being pitched down from D sharp 5 to D0, correct?
Yep.
Yep.
And I'll make it even longer.
Over time, yeah.
So that's really all a kick is the the manipulation of a sine wave when you sort of, I suppose it comes from the 808 and the 909 where they were trying to replicate real kick drums.
Mm-hmm.
And in a real kick drum, when you sort of hit the skin, vibrates quickly and then starts to slow.
Yeah.
The vibrations depending on the tuning of the
bass drum.
Yeah. So I suppose it's replicating that, and then we obviously abused it as it went on to create these really tough kicks. So basically, what we're talking about is creating a curve.
So Phil's just double clicking on the line here to create
just
nodes.
double click to create nodes, double click to get rid of nodes. So most kick drums start off and they have like this sort of curve type shape. And then they'll sort of flatten out towards the bottom.
So it's got quite a squeak, zappy sort of sound. And there we can shorten the length to make it tighter.
So this length control is actually controlling the overall length from here to here. So whether it's like 50 milliseconds or full 3 seconds. And then you can go in and fine tune clicks.
Your nodes, yeah.
Yeah, clicks can be created. You don't even need your own click. If you want to be a sort of purist analog thing, you can just use the actual nodes to create clicks.
And you can see, guys, the line turns purple when you're over it. And Phil, if you click and hold the line, what happens? You can get you can draw nice curves.
Yep, you can get curves. So there's a pretty basic, easy click. You can make it more aggressive. So that's with no click.
And you've got tags on there. So this
you can turn your tags on and off. So it just gives you the note numbers.
And the frequency, yeah.
Yep, and you can get snap on, so we can snap to actual
notes.
Actual notes.
Whereas if snaps off, you can tune it to hertz.
It'll just go up in hertz, yeah. I mean, it does still sort of snap to notes, but it might have 2 or 3
hertz in between,
you know. So for these last two, you tend to want to have snap on to try and that's where you can sort of tune it with your bass.
Yeah.
For these start two, you take snap off and you can just have a more fine control. And then you've got your amp. So another envelope. This time it's controlling volume.
So again, if you're familiar with ADSRs, this is attack, and we can draw on the decay and the release.
So it's advisable to have not too sharp.
Get that click.
Yeah, so you get clicks, and I tend to like to put just a wee curve at the bottom.
So it's a smoother roll off.
And you can put one at the top as well, if you want to, just sort of smooth out your envelopes. And then
and what about then the start? So we can soften the start.
You can soften the start. So if you're using a click and you think it's interfering with the sort of click portion here, you can just dial it completely out. And just use that.
And then bring it back to start sort of.
Yeah, you start getting that click back in.
Yeah.
And then sometimes if you want to, again, we were talking about the sort of phase of the click versus the phase of the actual sign.
Yeah.
And you can use a few different things to sort of try and match them up better. Sometimes they'll just sort of lock up and sound nice. Sometimes they'll sound a bit thuddy or something. So you can either use your length, or you can actually just go in and manipulate this portion just to fine tune us will bring.
Yeah, you can almost, it's almost like EQing it out of the way, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then we have a third envelope after you've changed this.
Let's get a better click.
And if you go to click, then we can manipulate the amp envelope with click.
Yep, so I will solo this. So this is the one we loaded in. So you can either have the full click in, or you can then start just dialing it down. And this is another amp envelope, so this is adjusting the volume of the click just. You can add as many nodes as you like, 16 nodes maybe, possibly more.
And you can start to see, guys, the amount of control you have over your click. You know, you can start adding in drive. So let's move on to the we've looked at quickly at the little sliders here.
Yes.
Gate. What does gate do for the guys?
So if we have a look at our MIDI parts, we can either control the volume exclusively with the amp envelope, or we can control it with our MIDI
note off.
Yeah.
So that's kind of handy. I notice, you know, some of the guys, you know, at the an intro to the track, they're having the very short kick, and then it comes in full power.
Yeah.
We can sometimes do that with a low pass or low cut, or you can do it with, you know, this way.
Yeah. So it just gives a bit more versatility, and as well, if you are using kick to create bass sounds, then that gives it a more sort of synth type.
The other area it'd be good for is, you know, if you're using kick for sidechain,
yep,
you can then manipulate the length of the sidechain.
Exactly, yeah, if you're using it as a ghost kick.
Key track, if any guys use Anna, this is where the kick by default.
Kick by default normally has key track off, so no matter what note you hit, it'll bash out I think it's a C1 or something like that. Test that. Yeah, so it's C1 with key track off. When key track is on, you can have your notes anywhere.
Good for maybe a fill or bass, you know. Or if you're making trap, open up kick and let's have a look at we can show them then a bass sound.
Yeah, so we've a couple of basses in there, just a basic sine. So we'll insert another MIDI track. We'll kick over.
So I know some producers would use the EXS24 default setting, which is a sine wave as a sub. Again, kick can be used, and you can add in a click into that sub, or you can add those. There's a tech tip Brian did about adding more punch to your bass, so you can have it pitch down, you know, real quick pitch down.
Techno. Just get rid of these other wee bits. So we can just go in then and
I would suggest if you're watching this tutorial on laptop speakers, go and get either headphones or studio speakers, because we're working in the very low end here. And show us some note movements then. So there you go, there's a really good solid low end bass from Kick.
And again, you can add your clicks in and
now, while we're on this bass, what might be interesting is to go through the Nicky Romero design distortion.
Yep. So we've got our distortion control, so that controls how much gain we want on our distortion. And then we have tone, which is basically a low pass and a high pass filter combined.
And mix.
So mix just controls the mix between the dry signal and the wet signal.
And then the button below it, the click post list.
So we can either have the click affected or not affected. So when click pre-distortion is on, it means that the click section is actually coming before the distortion, going into it, getting distorted and sent out. Whereas if it's off, it's after the distortion. So
and you've been playing this morning, even creating those big Martin Garrix type kicks.
yeah, it's pretty easy to do those sort of kicks. Let's go in.
By turning one knob. Yeah, so you got the first knob is the amount of pre-gain, isn't it? Sort of how much.
Yeah.
And you can see there, guys, we're not even driving the limiters yet. There we are.
So you can go from sort of subtle to right up there.
And our meters on our main channel aren't moving, so the meter plays can't come and get us. And I suppose just lastly, just one other thing, if you're that way inclined, you can skin kick yourself.
Yep, there's a just a folder with all the different elements and an XML list with positions, colors of the text, or the colors of the line, so you can basically completely reskin every element. Need a bit of graphics know-how.
Yeah. We wouldn't advise sort of people without a real good grounding to try and attempt this.
So just throw it into Photoshop. We'll also be including at some point the Photoshop files that we use, so you'll be able to get a bit of a template and play about with that. So
guys, that was a quick overview of Sonic Academy's Kick Synth, the Nicky Romero Artist Edition, which is available from the site at sonicacademy.com/kick at an unbelievable price, we think.
Yep.
We think it's the end of sample kick drums for everyone.
I totally agree.
Guys, thanks for watching, and speak to you all soon.
Catch you later.